In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the use of the C# switch statement. The C# switch statement is similar to the if statement with the exception of it allows you to test multiple conditions to see if they're true, as opposed to the if statement, which really only allows you to test one or two very conveniently. This is kind of like Visual Basic's case select statement, if you're familiar with VB. And so what we'll do to demonstrate how the syntax of the switch statement will create a new C# console application. We'll call this 2303. And after just a moment, Visual Studio gives us our boilerplate. And what we'll do is create another test of the args. So what we'll do is switch, and we'll test what's been passed in. We need the use of our curly braces, and we'll have several cases. And just to show that there is nothing up my sleeve, we'll do another case called Jim. And use the break statement. Whoops. Okay, so let's explain what's going on in this application. So essentially what we're doing here is evaluating what is passed into args. If that value equals Scott, then we'll execute this code. If what's passed in is Jim, then we'll execute this code. And finally, if what was passed in doesn't resemble Scott or Jim, then this default statement, done, will be printed out. Now, before we actually compile and run this example, what I want you to note is there's a break statement. In C#, you don't have the ability to have what's termed as fall through, so we can't do multiple evaluations on this statement. So we must tell the code to break out of the switch statement. There's another alternative where we can have a go-to statement, which will actually say, if it is Jim, we can say go to Scott, and it'll execute Scott's code as well. We won't cover that in this video, but be forewarned that if you ever need it, you do have the option of a go-to statement within your case select state, or your switch statement. It's almost reverted back to Visual Basic for a moment. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and rebuild our solution, and then we're going to test this. And so what we're going to do is first type in 2303 and type in the word Scott, and you'll notice that Scott was passed in. That's the text we would expect. Very good. So now let's type in 2303, and this time type in Jim, and again, the text that we would expect to see has indeed appeared in the screen. And then finally we're going to pass in just some random set of letters and hit enter. And we'll notice that the program executed couldn't find Scott or Jim, and therefore printed out the words done. So what you see here is the ability to evaluate multiple possibilities for a given variable. And if it meets those, then it will perform that code that's within that case statement. Otherwise, it will execute the default statement. Now, by the way, you don't have to have a default statement within your code. This is completely optional. But in most cases, you'll probably want to do some what we would term catch-all, so that even if the rest of the cases don't apply, at least you'll have some code that executes. So we hope that this video was helpful to you, that it helped you understand C# just a little bit better. Thank you very much.